Welcome to Sausage on a Fork, a podcast dedicated to the UK's longest running children's drama programme, Grange Hill. My name's Neil, and in each episode I'll interview a former cast member about their life before, during and after their time on the programme. Okay, welcome to the latest episode of Sausage on a Fork, and I am absolutely delighted to say that I have been joined for this episode by none other than Paul Orchard, who played Mr. Fox. Paul, welcome to Sausage on a Fork.
Thank you very much, Neil. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, not at all. Not at all. Pleasure's all mine. What we'll do, Paul, is we'll start this episode the way we start every episode. And if you could tell us how you first got into acting.
Well, I'd kind of always wanted to be an actor, but there was no acting in my family. You know, I was kind of an ordinary kind of working class family, but I've always been a movie fan and a film fan. And I kind of, something I'd always wanted to do, but I didn't know how.
Uh-huh.
And I was cast in a play. I ended up in London after a very long story. I've been around everywhere. I've been being on ships and oil rigs and around and about and kind of a couple of youth theatres and stuff like that. And I ended up with a friend who'd written a play in London. I ended up in London, which is a long story of how I got there. I went a very an indirect route.
Because you don't sound like you're from London. Let's just put that out there first.
No, I'm not. I'm originally from Liverpool. I'm born in Liverpool. Yeah, I was born in Kirkdale, and then we moved up further north out to by Mughal. But my family and everybody, and I lived. Last time I was there, I was in the Old Swan.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. Just off Prescott Road.
Yeah.
So I was there, and I ended up working on I think it was on the rigs up in Scotland, and over on the east coast in Norfolk. I ended up in London anyway, and a friend of mine that I got chatting to, a lad, had written a play and was doing a fringe play there, and he said, "You'd be perfect for this character," and would you? So I did it, and it got good reviews, and it was a success. And I worked then on the fringe in London, and I ended up going to drama school. I worked on pretty much, if anybody knows, there are gazillions of smaller theatres and fringe theatres around London. I've probably worked in 90% of them.
Right, wow.
Which was like a training, and kind of ran a kind of theatre cooperative. I ended up, rather than a back to front way, I went to drama school, and I did a postgraduate, although I'd never actually been to university at that point. I kind of wangled my way in because I'd had a good degree of experience at that time. Everybody else had been to uni. And so I went to a place called Webber Douglas, which is no longer there. Right. It was in Gloucester Road. It merged with the Central School of Speech and Drama. So the two of them combined, and that doesn't exist as Webber Douglas anymore. So I went there, and I came into acting straight from there, you know. Right. But I'd been working on the fringe, and then I came out, and I was casting around and working in theatre and stuff straight from graduating from drama school.
Yeah.
So that was the way. But I kind of lived abroad, and I lived in Berlin, and I'd worked on ships and oil rigs and from when I was in my late teens. But I'd always harbored this desire, but I didn't know how, you know.
Yeah.
How you went about it when it's not in your family. You don't really know how do you do it, you know. Does it miraculously happen? Or I'd never heard of drama school. I'd never, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know, my mum worked in a ciggy fight. She worked in the British Americans.
In the BAT,
in the BA. She was in the BA on Boundary Road. And my dad was a docker, you know, was a seafarer. And docker like half the people in Liverpool, you know. Yeah. It's kind of... And so that was my back, you know, my background.
And so when you're there and, like, you know, working at the fringe and all that, did you get to work with anyone who, like, anyone else who sort of like went on like becoming big names actors? Like,
do you know, I must have worked at that many people, and there were actors and writers putting on plays, and a lot of them have gone off to do. We're kind of, it was a springboard for them to go on, you know, to have their plays taken up to they'd go up to Edinburgh, or they'd submit them to the Royal Court, or they became kind of established writers and actors, and then and there are that many. It's kind of hard to remember.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
I
get
was
that.
right. I was right in the middle
Yeah.
of that, and we used to. I ran a little cooperative. Well, was part of a cooperative for a theatre in Camden Town, Kentish Town, Camden Town, and we converted the theatre and we put on plays, new plays from the Playwrights Trust, which was in Whitechapel Library at the time, and then we put on kind of established plays to attract an audience because we didn't have a reputation at that point when we were starting, and the theatre didn't have a reputation. So the compromise was that we put on new plays, which was our passion and what we wanted to do, but we were struggling for an audience. So we put on a Stephen Berkoff or something that drew the audience in, and then we put our new plays on, and then we'd go for something else that would bring the audience in, you know?
Yeah.
And so I worked, but I've worked with people subsequently. I've lost
yeah. Don't worry, I've got a few notes for you. We'll do that one in a bit. Like so.
Yeah, sometimes I forget.
Yeah.
But
So then you moved then. So when I do my research for any interview, I use IMDb a lot. Now, this is my catchphrase. I know it's not the most reliable source of information, IMDb, but it's got down your first sort of on-screen thing was Brookside.
Not strictly true, but it was. I did a bit on Brookie, but I did a bit on. Sometimes IMBD. I can't even. IMBD. There are things, and you think, oh gosh, I'd forgotten that. Remember that. And the things that are absent and missing and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a good source to start. Yeah. But yeah, I did. It wasn't my first thing, but it was one. It was early on. I'd done a lot of theatre when I came out of drama school. Did a lot of kind of almost exclusively theatre. Going for telecastings then increasingly. Was up at Mersey Telly and read for Dorothy Andrew was the casting director then. I think she might have cast me in subsequently in Grange Hill as well. But Phil Redmond was part of it as well. I've known Phil for donkey's years. I played a character called Cliff Connolly in Brookie with Vince Earl and Gladys Ambrose, the late Gladys Ambrose, who's very, very lovely.
Yeah,
and all the kind of characters around. I'm trying to think what the main storyline was.
So I'm just trying to think there, because I think round about that time, or my memory's hazy, and I probably wasn't an avid watcher of it at the time. There seemed to be a lot of gangsters involved round about that time, and I was always wondering if Cliff Connolly was anything like that at all.
No, very much not. Which I think Phil had fun casting me in different things. I think it's shown over the years. Cliff Connolly was bubbling with enthusiasm, and he was kind of irrepressible, and he always had a scheme and an idea for it. And he'd known the grumpy old curmudgeon that was Ron Dixon. I can't remember. I'd worked with him in a factory years ago, and he appeared on the scene from nowhere. And he had an idea that they should form a double act.
All right.
They should try comedy and kind of comedy magic. Cliff had been teaching himself, so he was trying to convince Ron Dixon to partner him as a child entertainer.
Oh, right.
Which was like the kind of worst idea in the world.
Yeah, because Vince Earl was a comedian, wasn't he? Before he was in Brookside, like he was a stand-up.
He was, and he was funny, and that's kind of what he did. But his character certainly wasn't.
He
wasn't in tune to being a children's entertainer. But neither was Cliff Connolly. He was completely inept.
Right. Okay.
And I did some things at a British Legion in Smithdown Road. They filmed some scenes where I've got a children's party that's gone disastrously wrong. And I'm trying to pull these rabbits from my hat and do these tricks that are all going wrong. And I'm trying to convince Ron Dixon to come and join me with this madcap scheme. But then so I was very much not a gangster. I was just a failed children's entertainer, magician with big dreams for me and Ron.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I think we ended up working in a shop somewhere. There was a shop somewhere. I can't remember. But yeah. But I was very much not a gangster.
Right, okay. Okay. So the next thing I've got down is you were in The Colour of Funny. You were in that with Craig Charles and Paul Chowdhury, Nina Conti.
Do you know I'm just trying to remember the scenes
Right.
I did, because again, I was another failed comedian in that.
Right. Okay.
That was like a pilot for a Channel 4. I was in a scene with, I think I was in love with the girl that used to be in Hello, Hello. But I was like
All
a
right.
bit, I was a bit the worse for wear in a pub, and I was another failed comedian or showbiz personality, and I was a bit down on my luck.
Yeah.
And I was looking around to try and resurrect my career. There seems to be a theme going here, but I'm not sure whether that ran following the Cliff Conley. But anyway, those two things were about. The other guys might have been in it, but I don't think they were in the scenes
Right. I get you.
that I did.
Right.
I remember we filmed my scenes in a pub, taking over a pub, and there was like a kind of upstairs function room somewhere that was in a wherever it was, in a studio or something. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the color of funny.
And then I asked if you were a gangster in Brookside, which you weren't. But then you were a gangster or a hitman in a program that I never thought would have had a hitman or a gangster in, because you were in an episode of Chuckle Vision where you played a hitman.
Yeah.
And I watched, like, to make sure, because as I say, it's not the most reliable. I actually looked it up the other day, and there you were as Garibaldi.
Luigi Garibaldi with a pencil mustache.
Brilliant. No, the Chuckle Brothers, are they everything you expect the Chuckle Brothers to be? Are they as bonkers as they appear to be?
More so. Brilliant. Right, okay. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely. I got on famously with them. They were easy. Tell you what they were is really professional. Yeah. Really, they'd done it for donkey's years. Yeah. It was kind of formulaic. It worked. It was good. But they were so professional and so good at what they, and they are exactly the way they are. Yeah. Barry, who I think has passed away, was a lovely man. And he was the shorter one of the two. And he was the kind of gaff prone one. They're both gaff, error prone, but he was the less cool of the two, or the less know. He was a really lovely kind of. They both were nice and a great experience. And I had been a fan. I've done a few things, but that's probably one of the favorite things I've ever done. Yeah. People were, that's not very cool. But I know it was really cool for me. That was great. Yeah. That was great. Unusually, and this kind of ties in, I think we filmed in Watford.
Right.
And I'd done a gangster movie outside of Luigi Garibaldi. Yeah. And it was the wrap party for this thing. So I'd done my last scenes 8 weeks prior to this. And it was they were filming, and then they had the wrap party, and I'd finished my last day filming with the Chuckle Brothers, and then I went back to London on that. As soon as we wrapped from the Chuckle Brothers, I went back home to London, where I was living at the time, and then to the wrap party, which had great, it was very cool, because they were, it was Tom Hardy was in the movie, and Daniel Craig, and everyone was very impressed by that. But I just come to the set of the Chuckle Brothers there. I enjoyed, honestly, just as much. I really did. Brilliant. But I came from like the rap and said bye-bye to the brothers, and shot off to all these kind of cool, cool characters in this kind of gangster Brit flick.
So that movie you're talking about is Layer Cake. Now, Layer Cake is a favorite in our house. It's one of them films where if we see it's on, it gets watched. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter what we're doing. It's an absolute favorite. But that must have been, like you just said. You just mentioned some of the people there, like Tom Hardy, Daniel Craig, Jamie Foreman, Michael Gambon, Kenneth Cranham, Cole Meany, all these people. That must have been, like, although you're a professional actor, that must still be an amazing experience to be working with people like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was great and easy to work on. And but I'm trying to think who I remember we rehearsed. Probably a lot of them weren't as bigger names as
Yeah,
they are now. So I mean, Daniel Craig I kind of knew, but he wasn't. He hadn't done James Bond. I think he was in the process of
yeah,
of of, of signing to do the Bond because there were times when we were at the shoot, we were
yeah.
filming, and he'd have to get excluded because there were like meetings set up
Right,
for like a. So they were, and they wouldn't have done that except there was something really big and hush hush in the part, and I suspect it was that it kind
right.
of
I
tied
get
in.
you.
But he wasn't as big as I mean, he'd done The Road to Perdition. He'd done wonderful things. He's a great actor, and a really lovely fella as well.
Yeah,
Really nice, big Liverpool supporter.
yeah. Never
I
mind.
can remember,
We won't talk about them.
yeah,
Now go on.
we, we were somewhere. We were somewhere. I think we were in a studio. I don't know what scene we were doing. I think they're in a motel, and he's got like the metal detector going.
Yeah,
My character.
yeah.
I couldn't remember his name either for a minute.
Lucky.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the crews got a radio in the background. They were playing Chelsea. I think it was the first game of the season.
Yeah, right.
And there was a penalty, and everything stopped. Yeah,
Brilliant. So your character's called Lucky in that film, but really he wasn't very lucky in that film, was he? he was
no, no.
he was a sniper, and he was a very good sniper, and highly trained. But spoiler alert, someone else was better than him. Let's just leave it like that, shall we?
Yeah,
Someone else
yeah.
was better than Lucky. Yeah.
If they'd have ever made a layer cake 2, Lucky wasn't coming back unless it was in a dream sequence. I think.
But like
Um,
as you said there, it's such a British film as well, and they use a massive pool of British actors in there. And what I like is there's quite a Scouse connection in that film because
yeah,
there's obviously yourself, Lewis Emmerich there,
yeah,
Stephen
yeah,
Walters, is there,
yeah.
Daniel Craig, who you've mentioned, born
Yeah,
in Chester,
well, yes. Yeah,
lived over the water, didn't he?
yeah,
Hoyley round
yeah,
there,
yeah. I,
and
th-
they
I think it was in West Derby as well at one point. I think
right,
because his mum was a teacher. Yeah,
right, yeah,
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 yeah.
and
Really nice fella, and like proud of his connections.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah,
Very, yeah.
and
He's a big red, as I say. Yeah.
and parts of it were filmed in the news bar in town. There's a
Was it?
scene where with him, Sienna
Oh,
Miller, and whoever Sienna Miller's boyfriend was played by in the film. Sorry, I can't think of his name. The news bar isn't there anymore. It's now a Hooters, and it's about to close
oh.
down.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go. The news bar rings a bell.
yeah. The news bar it's New Zealand House is
James
basically
Street.
where it
Was
is.
it James
By
Street?
James Street. Yeah, yeah, yeah. James Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love the fact that they've just gone for a whole British pool of British actors. So you did a few other bits, and you were in obviously after the film of Mike Bassett's England manager. You were in an episode. They made a TV series.
Yeah, yeah, they filmed it at Brentford,
All right,
the old
okay,
Brentford ground. I think Brentford have moved now, but they
yeah,
filmed it at the old Brentford ground,
yeah,
which was a lovely old tight little ground, with the streets. It,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
one of those ones that had the famous claim to having a pub on every corner.
All right, yeah, brilliant. At the end of every day filming, you had somewhere to go.
Yeah,
Then,
yeah, it was one of those famous, and they intentionally did that because as soon as the ground was exiting, people were just going
yeah,
whichever corner of the ground you came out of. They were going for a pint on,
definitely,
or before, but it was very different then. They're in
yeah,
on the edge of London now, towards Heathrow. Now you see the stadium, which looks great and all that, but
yeah,
they're pretty soulless compared to what
yeah.
It was like Goodson, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Goodson,
yeah. Yeah,
Anfield.
rising up out the streets. That's
Yeah,
what I always remember. David Soul saying that about Bill
yeah,
Kenwright took him to Goodison, and he said that's
yeah,
what he loved about English football grounds is the fact
yeah,
that they're right
yeah.
in the heart of the community. Like
Yeah, West Ham was it used to be up the old
the
bowling
old
ground.
bowling ground. I love the bowling ground. Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, I went over there a few times as well. And the Arsenal ground was great, was like
Yeah,
that as well. Yeah,
yeah,
the old Highbury was great like that. Yeah,
yeah. Now the thing about Mike Bassett, obviously Ricky
yeah,
Tomlinson
yeah.
and other Scouser. And again, I've been told what you see is what you get with Ricky Tomlinson.
Yeah.
There's no airs or graces there. Whoever he's playing is just Ricky
Is
Tomlinson
it-
in
yeah.
a different outfit. My mate, because he used to live up by Goodison, and my mate lived up
All
by
right.
Goodison, and he said one day there was a knock on the door. He said, and I opened the door, and Jim Royle was just stood there. He said, it wasn't Ricky Tomlinson, it was just Jim Royle. And I looked at him and he just said, hey, mate, do us a favour. Can you move your van? He said, it's the weirdest, it must be the weirdest celebrity interaction anyone's ever had. Like, but yeah, I love the fact that everyone says there's no airs or graces about him. What you see is what you get. And he's just a sound fella, like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Really nice fella. Really nice crowd.
Yeah,
he was at Merseytale. He was Brookie as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. That's it.
Yeah, in some of the big storylines as well.
Yeah, yeah, because he was the like they were the first main family, the Grants, weren't they? When
yeah. He was what was his name? Bobby Grant.
Bobby Grant, yeah.
Bobby Sheila Grant, yeah.
And a couple of other people were in that episode of Mike Bassett. Now you might not have worked with them, but I just want to mention them because one of them is a guy called Stephen Aintree. Now Stephen Aintree is a guy from Liverpool, and Stephen Aintree is not his real name, but he took the surname Aintree because he was from
Aintree.
Yeah, where I am right now, that's where he was from. And
all right.
And there was another fella in it, Nick Tizard. Now, Nick Tizard, he is the man responsible for. His character is responsible for Grange Hill basically moving to Liverpool because at Grange Hill's final episode that was filmed at Elstree, he was a teacher who'd been caught doing wrong, and he blew the school up. Basically, set fire to it and blew the school up. He played Mr. Devil, and I just think that's just a nice little link there. Like, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of nice little links, that brings us nicely onto Grange Hill because you turned up in Grange Hill for a couple of series. So, how did Grange Hill come about for you then?
Well, I was. As I say, I'd worked there before. I'd done Brookside at that point. And then I come back? I read for another character in Brookside after mine, because you know that you kind of could get resurrected from the dead if you played the character and a few years later. So I was up and reading for somebody else, which was there was a new family coming in.
Right.
And I was under consideration for that.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't get that, but I got a call for Grange Hill. I always had a good relationship with Phil, and he used to put me in some quite challenging things, some casting. So Phil Redmond, I got a call from casting saying, "Would you come up and read for this? There's a new family coming in. You might be suitable for this." And I read for that, and then I went back, read again, met Phil, went somewhere else. And I got this character who said there's a character in Grange Hill, because Grange Hill had moved up there by then. And I thought, well, Mr. Fox, maths teacher, it wouldn't have immediately come to my mind. But Phil thought I could bring something to it, and it was slightly unconventional. I mean, my maths is terrible.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt you there, because I don't know if you've seen, but whenever I'm putting an episode of a podcast out, I put picture clues online as to who the guest is going to be. And whoever gets it right, the first, across all the social media platforms, whoever's first gets to ask the next guest a question. So I've got a question from you. From a guy called Stephen Pease. Now, Stephen Pease is a huge Grange Hill fan. He's a big collector. And he's on a mission. He's on a mission to collect autographs from everyone who's been in Grange Hill. But his question is, obviously, you've mentioned there about maths. Mr. Fox was the maths teacher. Did you enjoy maths at school? And if not, which subject did you enjoy the most?
I was terrible at maths. my maths, honestly. I was kind of learning because Mr. Fox was teaching, and I had to write maths conundrums and solve puzzles on the board. It was all just a con and Fibonacci's sequence. Because my maths is so bad, it was hard getting that stuff in my head because it didn't make any sense to me, But I gradually doing it, I started to understand. My maths started to improve. I know Phil Redmond is a teacher and is passionate about maths and about the image of maths, where people see maths as being boring. He tried to use me as a vehicle to make it interesting and approach it from a different angle and relate it to everyday things to make it more accessible and less seen as dusty and useless and fusty and something dreary. So I was charged with making it interesting and
Yeah.
make it, so the
I
kids
mean,
could relate to it. My maths was going back. My maths was pretty poor. Maybe slightly better when I left, but still not very good.
yeah. Well,
Certainly not for a math teacher. I liked RE at
all
school.
right. Okay.
I won
Yeah.
awards
Oh,
for
brilliant.
RE and things and history and RE. I could see that. I could see the images kind of, maybe
Yeah.
I'm visual. I could see that. I'd love doing the research on
Yeah.
that when we were going back and watching time progress and things and
Yeah.
cultures evolve. Yeah.
Brilliant. Cheers. Okay. So the thing is with Mr. Fox, it wasn't like he wasn't like introduced like here's a new teacher. It was just sort of one day he was just there. There was a thing where the first scene I looked was there was a radio station in the school because why wouldn't the school have a radio station?
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Uh,
Yeah.
and one of the kids, Maddie, had made a poster about how the kids could vote for the name of the radio station, and but she wants them to do it by text, and Mrs. Bassinger, who was the head, had told her
Yeah.
that she couldn't because they couldn't do that because it would have meant using mobile phones on
Yeah.
school property. They have to do it by pen and paper. And Maddie's like, well, that means a whole rainforest going to have to be cut down just so we can decide on the name of our radio station. And this is where you see Mr. Fox maybe he's a little bit sympathetic to the kids here, where he said, she has got a point there, but they still have to do it on pen and paper anyway. Mrs. Bassinger was like, well, there's plenty of scrap paper around. You can do that. Now, various names were given for the radio station, and one of them was Grunge Mound. And Mr. Fox sort of questions that. And this is where Mrs. Bassinger said, well, yeah, that's a drawback of giving the youth their own a voice, because sometimes it's incomprehensible. And then,
yes, I remember this. Yeah.
And then you've mentioned about being in, the maths classroom and how things came to you. There was a picture of Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man put up in the classroom. And when he asked the class if they knew what it was, Tanya said it was pornography.
Yeah. Yeah, I was constantly dealing with challenging questions and even more challenging answers as well.
What I liked was the fact that, like, you've said there about trying to make maths interesting. That's what that's your character did that, because he says there, everything has got something to do with maths. Everything. Because he told them about how a palm is the width of 4 fingers, and then suggested that they took their shoes off because the foot is the width of 4 palms. And he's saying, like, take your shoes off and we'll see it. And like, when the kids objected to doing that, he then told them that a person's reach is usually the same as their height, which I never learned that at school. Do you know how I learned that? I learned that Frank Bruno was fighting Mike Tyson, because if you didn't, that was a massive event, and I
do remember, yeah.
Even like the Liverpool Echo did bits on it and all that, and they had the tail of the tape in there, and I remember looking at that and thinking, wow, his reach is the same as his height, and that was how I learned that. Like, but I did like the fact that Grange Hill used to throw in those things where it wasn't just a drama. There was things in it where the kids could learn not just social things, but like actual educational things that they might learn in school, or they might not have noticed.
That stems from Phil Redmond's passion for maths, and through the writers was they were using his voice to make it interesting. And not as the subject that sometimes frightens people or puts them off. He was equating it to everyday life. I had a toaster in the classroom at one time. And I was putting jam on it, the way it always falls, jam side down. And so I was toasting the bread and dropping them. And the kids were all kind of thinking, what's he doing? And the place was full of the smell of burnt toast. And we were dropping it to see if that actually is a scientific fact. And I was trying to prove that it's not. There isn't a mathematical certainty there. It just seems that way because it's not the way you want it to fall. And when it does, you remember that event rather than. So and I had a rabbit with me in the class. I produced a rabbit. So he was. Sometimes I ran into conflict with the other teachers, and but just in an attempt to engage with the kids.
So there was a thing where he'd give sweets out as prizes if kids, for answering questions. And the kids had initially thought Mr. Fox was boring, but then thought he was quite fun through things like that. And he had them writing backwards in the books because that's what Leonardo da Vinci had done.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned the rabbit.
Yeah.
Derek.
Yeah. Yeah. Derek was the star of that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stole this as soon as he came in. We'd rehearsed it, and as soon as even when we were running all the kind, we were up and we were filming after rehearsing, and we were shooting.
No,
Oh, you could hear everybody just going, oh, when Derek appeared. I was trying to keep them on the scene,
yeah. Because Mr. Fox had brought the rabbit in to teach the pupils about Fibonacci, like you mentioned earlier, and how maths can work with nature. And, this might be what you link to what you've just been saying there, because at the end of the day, Mr. Fox went to get Derek and saw that he chewed his way out of the cardboard box that he brought him into school in. Not the best of ideas.
No.
Togger and his mates found the rabbit, but we don't know if it was ever given back to Mr. Fox. That's sort of like the episode ends there, like with Derek disappearing into the sunset.
I think we assume he got home safely. That's yeah, because we were asked that, and that's it. Yeah, he was safe and well cared for, well loved.
And there was a sponsored bike ride. Don't know if you remember that. You were
out
on the bikes. We saw you out and about on the bike. Now I'm going to ask, where was that filmed?
Sefton Park.
Right, yeah, because that was
Sefton Park by the Palm House, by where the lake is.
Ah, right, yeah. Yeah, because there's a few times I've watched that and I've thought, because I couldn't tell if it was Sefton Park or Calderstones, because I know Mersey TV's down that way, So yeah, because Togger, I don't know if you remember that, Togger had pulled a classic Grange Hill prank for the bike ride.
Yeah.
Changing the direction of the signs.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to be back first. And
everyone
else, and everyone else was following the signs. And when kids questioned the lack of signs on the direction they'd gone, Mr. Fox said, "Oh yeah, we'll pick the signs up soon." But you could tell he had that, it was that classic acting trope where everything will be fine, but you can tell that internally they're really worried about where they are.
Yeah, maybe it won't be. Yeah.
Now there's just a little bit in that episode where Mr. Fox and the other bike riders almost get hit by a van.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you can remember the significance of the van.
Well, I do. I mean, the episode itself, there was fun as the was in most Grange Hill episodes. There was a really serious message in that, which was a bit of the kind of attempted abduction through one of the characters had met somebody online who was much older than they were presenting themselves to be, and so it was a really serious message about kind of being groomed and being manipulated and online grooming. So that was the kind of essence of that episode. It was a really serious message as the were, and with a lot of Grange Hill storylines. Yeah, that was that one.
It's quite shocking as well because you see the guy who Tanya's gone to meet. Sorry, you see the guy that Tanya meets. He's not the guy that Tanya thinks she's meeting, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's quite shocking where you can see when the guy's demeanor and attitude changes as well, because at first he's really friendly, and then when she goes to run away, that's when his whole demeanor changes. And like I say, it's quite shocking for a kids' TV program to be showing that. But as you said, it's really necessary as well for kids.
Absolutely.
Because it was in the early days of the internet. So it was in the early days of chat rooms. It was in the early days of online and talking to anyone instantly around the world. And you don't know who that is. And kids would have been believing straight away, as they still do now.
Absolutely, it's almost as relevant now. Probably kids are a little bit more savvy, and their parents and the kind of people who are in charge, their carers or whoever they are, a little bit more savvy. But it still happens now. People are not who they say they are, and people will talk to them. And in those days, even more so, people thought it was just an accessible way of reaching out and speaking to people all over the place.
Yeah, definitely.
And they can tell you whoever they are. So they're really serious, important themes and important kind of issues that young people face. Young people face that. Everybody faces. I mean, Grange Hill, the thing about Grange Hill is they never shied away from those serious issues, from manipulation and kind of grooming and drug abuse and physical, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, bullying, all of those. Grange Hill challenged them and took them on fair and square, and credit to them for that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't seeking sensationalism; it was a message, and it was a kind of. They were warnings, and they were really big, serious issues. Like everybody knows from that Just Say No. There were songs that came from it, and there were messages of, it stayed in the kind of conscious of the conscience of the country,
Yeah, definitely.
So and that's credit to the writers and the producers of the show.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
they kept that and just a kind of adopted whatever as times changed, whatever was happening at that time, as the kind of prevalence of the internet. They went along with the negatives and the side to be careful with,
Yeah.
The things to be cautious of.
Brilliant. Yeah. No, definitely. Now, you've mentioned the bullying there as well in all those issues, because there was a thing where your time on Grange Hill, people don't. Obviously, it's not like it's not the zenith that Grange Hill had been, because obviously, like you've mentioned so much stuff there, which was like from the 80s. But I've said this so many times on here. The bullying storyline from the Liverpool years, I think, with Alex, is the best bullying storyline Grange Hill did. I'll argue that one till I'm blue, and I don't care. I know we had Gripper, I know we had Imelda, I know we had Booger Benson, but this storyline, the way the victim reacted to it and everything, I think it's the best bullying storyline, because it was prolonged as well. It wasn't sort of like it's happened over a few episodes, then it gets sorted and they're expelled. It went on for over 2 series, so I just think it was so good to show different ways that people can get to people and how people can be affected by it. Because we saw Mr. Fox persuading Alex to go on the school adventure trip, and Alex wasn't sure about going. He just said he wasn't sure. He wasn't telling anyone that he was being really badly bullied, but he was, and he was becoming more and more isolated. Now, eventually, some of his mates like Tigger and Ed and Alison had a chat with him and persuaded him to go on the trip. So he went on it. Now, the adventure trip, the episode where they go on the adventure trip, it starts off at the school, and Wally Scott, the caretaker, Simon O'Brien, Simon's been on here, and we love the fact that he's got no idea where the name Wally Scott came from, other than the same name as the DJ that used to be on Radio Merseyside. He doesn't know whose idea it was to call him Wally Scott. But anyway, Mr. Scott's loading the coach, and Mr. Fox asked if he needed any help. And Wally says, well, I should be going on this trip. You need someone, you need practical skills out in the wild. To which Mr. Fox says to him, because he's the caretaker, well, if we come across any dangerous wild radiators that need bleeding, I'll give you a shout. And you just think, harsh, isn't it? Like, I've been a school caretaker, me. It's a little bit harsh. Like, and where was that film?
That was filmed in Cheshire.
All right, okay.
Over by where all the footballers live, over in
Alderley Edge.
Alderley Edge.
Alderley Edge, yeah.
Where it was actually filmed. That's Phil Redmond's house is there, and those are his grounds.
Wow.
And he kept them and left them open to the public so they could still use them as a part of the National Trust or whatever it was. He still, for those cabins and things we stayed, people could still stay in them and use them and things. So it was filmed in Cheshire. But where we see it filmed is that was the location.
Yeah,
so Cheshire, beautiful, really beautiful location. We were there for a week, and we didn't stay over. I don't think I think we set off from West Derby, from Mersey Tally, in a kind of minibus, the same one that Wally Scott was wanting to get on. We went off every day. I think we were there for about a week.
Right.
But we were
Brilliant.
still based. We were still based and dropped off at the base in Liverpool.
Oh, right, yeah,
I
yeah.
think I was staying over the road in West Derby. And in the West Derby, there's a pub there. I'm not quite sure. That was one of the places
All
where
right.
we used to stay. I
Yeah.
used to live in town as well and be put up in hotels in town. But sometimes just across the road in West Derby Village, there was a great, lovely little pub, and they had rooms above. The only thing was sometimes when they'd have a quiz on, I think it was a Tuesday night, and they'd use a microphone.
All right.
I can remember doing it, and I was on an early call, like
Right.
kind of 6 in the morning. I had to be there. So I was up at 5, so I had to be there. Can't remember what we were filming, but I was in early call, so I was in bed at a reasonable hour above, and it was the quiz, and the microphone came out, and it was that loud. I was lying in my bed and I was answering some of the questions from downstairs. And in the end, I put my clothes on and went down and joined the
Brilliant.
team. It was pointless trying to sleep. We did quite well, actually.
Love it.
I went back a couple of times. It was every Tuesday and
Yeah. Oh, love
joined the
it.
same team. But I was lying in bed and they were saying, "How many wives did that Henry that six?" And it was, yeah, died,
Tremendous.
beheaded,
Yeah. No,
whatever it was.
this is where, you mentioned earlier about you wanted Mr. Fox not just to be the maths teacher, but to have some kind of mystique about him. And that really comes out on like on the adventure trip, because the lads were making jokes about Mr. Fox being there despite him only being a maths teacher. And then they were asking about his clothes, because if you remember, he had the SAS logo on his jumper. And
yeah.
yeah, and Mr. Fox says to them, it's not what you look like, it's what you do.
Yeah.
Can you remember what he did next?
Yeah, well, the kids had been. He was seen as a little bit of a joke because he was playful and he engaged with the kids, but he was quite nerdy and mathsy, and they were. And he dressed in a very formal way that was different. So he wasn't cool in that way. But they were thinking he's kind of funny and he's kind of nice. But then they thought, is he really this nerdy? They wanted to give him another kind of an angle, another kind of layer. So we did that. And then the kids are starting to think there's more to this guy. There's something mysterious. He's giving these cryptic answers to questions.
Can you remember an action that he did?
Yeah. And then there were parallel bars, and as Mr. Fox,
this is before the parallel bars. This is right when they got there. So the kids had said, "Say, there's a wasp in here."
Oh yes, yeah. And he snatches it in his hand, and the kids all gasp. And think, wow, that was so fast we could hardly see it. And he throws it, he lets it go unharmed.
Yeah, there's that, and then the lads all obviously look amazed because he's just caught this wasp with, Mr. Miyagi type reflexes, and then they start talking. He's talking to all the kids then about nature again, and he tells them that nature is like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. If you look after it and treat it with respect, it'll support and nurture you. But if you disrespect it and treat it badly, it can be very, very mean. And and Togger then says to him, "Is that like you and Miss Adams?" Because obviously Terry Dwyer played Miss Adams. She was there.
That's right, yeah.
And the lads all start talking about him then and about what he did and about with the wasp earlier, and start speculating about how he might be a ninja assassin, a highly trained killing machine. Yeah. And then the kids all had to hand in all the food they were doing because they were going to be doing survival exercises, and they had to hand in all the food and all their mobile phones. And then we saw them walking through the woods, and they saw some rabbits. Now, Mr. Fox was talking to them about how they could catch these rabbits and eat them. But when you watch that scene, it's very, very obvious that those rabbits aren't there. It's something Grangel did a couple of times. It's obviously wildlife on one, stock footage or something like that.
Yeah.
And it always makes me laugh whenever I see it, because the ground that those rabbits are on, they just look anything like where they are.
No rabbits were injured in the making of that thing, and that's something I'd like to say.
And Alison, she didn't want to eat the rabbits. She didn't want to eat them. So it was suggested that she could eat worms, and Mr. Fox said worms were good for you because they're nature's protein provider, is what he said. And then Alison reminded him about Derek, the rabbit he brought in, and how he was a lovely rabbit. And Mr. Fox said, yeah, he was even lovelier with a nice bit of gravy. He went all Hannibal Lecter on it, like he was even lovelier with a nice bit of gravy. And then we saw everyone trying to find different ways to find food. You know, people were fishing and, you know, collecting fruits and stuff. But the girls, Chloe and Sammy and Andrea, were going round sabotaging their attempts because they had loads of sweets that they hadn't handed in that they were going to sell. Now, the girls were eventually caught by all the other kids and made to give sweets to everyone. And when the kids went back up with the teachers, they'd cooked them some nettle soup. And nobody was eating it. And they were like, well, you must be starving. And then Mr. Fox realized that the girls were giving these sweets out. So there was a little bit of a kangaroo court held about these girls, about what they'd done and why they'd done it. And the punishment was to prepare a meal for everyone. Now, Mr. Fox had caught a couple of fish and he showed them how to fillet a fish. And I'm going to ask you, was that something you, was it actually you we saw doing that? Could you actually do that? Did you have any, or you're not going to tell me any, like you actually are a ninja assassin or anything?
No, but I am a vegetarian.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't. So all the animals were safe around me. I certainly wasn't eating anything or killing anything. No, I've been a vegetarian for 35 years. But yeah.
But
that was great. The way they would cheat that as they cheat lots of things. It's kind of artistic license that they took with it. As you said about the rabbits that you saw.
Yeah.
They weren't actually the ones that were on the same.
Then we saw Mr. Fox. We saw Mr. Fox go out for a run, and this is what you were talking about earlier. So yeah, we see him go out for a morning run and doing exercise in the adventure playground.
Yeah.
The parallel bars that you mentioned. What did Mr. Fox do there?
Well, we see the kind of the morning kind of the sun coming up in the morning. Mr. Fox coming out for his run.
Yeah.
We think, God, he's quite fit, Mr. Fox. He doesn't look. He sets off on his run, and on his way back with his bobble hat, he peels his top off, sees these parallel bars, and then does this intricate kind of gymnastic maneuver on the parallel bars, which was another kind of bit of artistic license. That was the current British champion on the parallel bars that stood in for me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
I did jump up on them. That was the extent of my contribution. Yeah. But yeah, I think it worked quite well. The kids thought it was funny, you know, but yeah.
And then Togger and Andy were talking to Mr. Fox and asking him where he got his survival knowledge from. Yeah. And he said he couldn't tell them. And Andy said, is that because you'd have to kill us if you told us? And Mr. Fox just looked at them and said, not before you've served up breakfast for everyone.
Yeah, with a cold stare that chilled the blood. Yeah, and they thought,
and
are you serious?
And obviously, you know, the kids were all moaning about they couldn't get signal on the phones, even though they had to hand them in. So Mr. Fox took them to an area where they could get signal on their phones, and he told them some big convoluted story about knowing where the satellite was in relation to where they were. And he later on told Miss Adams that he'd looked on the map and he'd seen there was a radio mast, so he knew they'd be able to get signal. But the thing about the radio mast was it was made to look like a tree. It wasn't actually a radio. It didn't look like a radio mast. It had been made to look like a tree.
I think it was a mast, actually.
Right, yeah.
But it was kind of thinly disguised as a tree.
Yeah.
But it was about triangulating your location and crossing it by but actually he was looking across and there was a mast. That's where the signal was.
Do you know what, as someone who's taken kids on residential trips, they're always the best things when the kids believe something that is the easiest thing for you to make up. That's the best thing, like, without a doubt.
Absolutely. Why spoil it? Yeah.
And also there was the maze as well.
Yeah, gosh,
That,
yeah, there was lots going on. That was we filmed that somewhere on the Wirral, I think it
right.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a kind of the storyline was bubbling over there at that time. Things
Uh-huh.
were happening in the background. This was
Yeah.
at the forefront of the story, but things were happening, and the kids would talk. The pupils were talking to each other, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that was another kind of fun
So,
event,
so
kind
there
of
was the things
serious.
where like the girls were after the lads because of the girls who've been bullying the Alex. They were after them, but then there was
Yeah,
also Tanya was sort of still dealing with what had happened to her when she'd been, the abduction. And so if she was on her own, she in it somewhere she didn't know. There was all loads of little things like that. But the kids got prizes for getting back first, and they were given a compass. And I don't know what they were expecting on a survival weekend, but they didn't seem too overly thrilled when they won them compasses that Mr. Fox gave them, the first ones back to the
no, they looked
center of the
disappointed, didn't
maze. Like,
they?
yeah.
Yeah,
And then that moves on. Then we moved on to series 29. And again, it was 2005. I think they went on air, one at the beginning of 2005 and one at the end, from what I could see, which was quite unusual for Granger. I think when I say it went on, it might have been like December. It went on air, the first few episodes over into January. And Mr. Fox this time was the head of the sixth form, as well as being a
yeah.
maths teacher. And right throughout that series, there was an issue with toilets. Like there was a big problem with toilets, and only a few toilet blocks were open. And Mr. Fox was saying to the sixth formers, if it was up to him, they'd all be digging trenches
Yeah,
for their
yeah.
toilets. And then,
There was a flooding and a drainage
yeah,
issue. I think it was even beyond Wally's
yeah, it
capabilities.
was, yeah.
I think we were all flummoxed.
And then he told them, when I was in the service, right, which
Yeah.
we assume was the SAS, because
Oh,
he had
yeah,
his WDW logo on his jumper and stuff. So we assume it was the SAS. He says when he was in the service, they used to carry their waste in a bag, so their enemy had no ideas where they'd been. And there was one of the sixth formers was called Martin, and Martin had Asperger's, I think it was.
right. Yeah,
And
that was another big subject that
yeah, it was
they
when
broached.
a,
Yeah,
a big thing to deal with now, like
absolutely.
definitely. And he was one of them kids that took everything literal. So when Mr. Fox said that about the waste, like someone had to tell him, look, he doesn't want you to do that. But he was talking to Mr. Fox. He said he'd had the idea of converting human waste into. He'd been looking into the idea of converting human waste into fuel. And Mr. Fox said, well, yeah, it is a good idea, but need more thought because how's it going to be processed and all that. But the school did get an incinerator, if you remember that.
Yes, I do. Yeah, yeah.
And they did eventually get an incinerator. Now, we've said about him being a maths teacher. Now, we wanted it to be fun. There's a lesson where Togger threw a paper airplane and it hit Mr. Fox. Instead of him telling Togger off, can you remember what he did?
I think he had them all building airplanes.
Well, he told him why it hadn't flown very well,
yeah,
and made one. He made one and flew perfect. And then they talked about flight and symmetry and
yeah,
butterflies and all that.
Gravity and
Yeah, yeah,
and air pressure. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there
he
was a
said,
lesson in everything with Mr.
yeah,
Fox.
it hadn't flown very well because it wasn't symmetrical. It wasn't very
Yeah,
symmetrical. So instead of telling him off, he made one himself and threw it straight back at him.
yeah.
And there's another day where Togger and his mates went missing one lunchtime, and Mr. Fox and Mr. Malachi, Ed Baker Julie, were instrumental in trying to find them. And they did eventually turn up. Togger come running into the school, but can you remember where they'd been? Why they'd gone out and they hadn't returned to school because they'd been somewhere.
There were kind of was it animal smuggling?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, and there were animals in cages that were
Yeah,
being exported or illegally traded or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
If you looked in a shed
there were monkeys and
yeah,
there were monkeys and things around. Yeah,
it all
that
led
was
to a monkey
really
being
interesting.
chased around the school. Yeah, I mean, what was that like?
Oh, it was great fun. I think I've got a feeling we did that on a Saturday. We were
Right.
unusually in on a Saturday for that, but it was absolutely. It was great fun. that was another one of the challenges. I was around. An animal lover anyway, but I was
Yeah.
around a lot of animals during my time as Mr. Fox. So
Yeah.
that was good. I did enjoy that. It was a little monkey on was it Togger's shoulder?
Yeah, on Togger's shoulders
Uh,
it ended up. Yeah.
uh, uh,
Brilliant. Brilliant.
so that was great fun. That was another
Yeah.
fun activity playing Mr. Fox. It was all round. It was a great
Yeah.
job,
Um,
and it was a great place to film as well. Mersey Telly, and a great atmosphere and a great crew, a great cast, really supportive, great
yeah.
fun, and a quiz night on a Tuesday as well. When you're trying to,
And Mr. Fox had a word with Taylor. I don't know if you remember Taylor Mitchell, Reece Noy, who went on
yeah,
to
yeah,
Waterloo
yeah,
Reef. He's gone on to all sorts of things now. And
yeah,
Taylor was, had his problems, like, and
yeah,
he,
yeah,
Mr. Fox had a chat with him about his future, and Taylor said he liked messing about on the school radio. Mr. Fox
yeah.
said, "Yeah, well, I like messing about in my garden." And then Mr. Fox said to say, "Look, I know you're not messing around on the radio." He said, "And I don't mess around in my garden. It's won prizes." Is what he
Yes,
says, like,
yeah,
which just gives us a little bit more into the character, the man behind the teacher there. There
yeah.
was there was a
The SAS man behind
yeah,
the teacher,
yeah,
the,
and there
the gardening, the
was a
gardening
big
champion,
yeah.
marrow grower. Yeah, yeah,
Getting Wallace and Gromit to look after his garden
yeah,
for him, like,
yeah.
and there was a radio controlled car race which Alex Pickering won, and when he won, Mr. Fox turned to Mr. Malachi and said, "I taught that boy everything he knows about angles." And I mean, there's nothing like taking credit for someone else's success, is there?
Take
But
it wherever you can find it.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. They've been working on kind of driving techniques and the shortest route to
yeah,
the point A and things.
yeah,
So yeah, there was a slight kind of connection, but
yeah, yeah.
I
But
think it was pushing it to take credit for that. I think it
yeah,
was.
as you
Yeah,
say, take it wherever you can. But
yeah.
that that scene with the remote control, that was the last time we saw Mr. Fox.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Gosh,
So why were you not in it the next series?
I had uh, I had a couple of other things, a couple of other jobs,
Right.
and I wasn't sure whether the following series was going to be the last.
Right.
But I wasn't in it. I was doing other things, so I
Yeah.
kind of left then
It
on
went
my
on
own.
for what was that? 29 you were in, weren't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it went on for another two after that,
yeah.
like another 2 years. Yeah.
But so I was doing it. I had a couple of jobs that I went to, and I was doing those.
Right.
Um, really challenging things and things I wanted to do. So it was great. My time there, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It was great fun. I have fond memories. I think I did go back to Mersey Telly and I played a character in Courtroom, the
Oh
film.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know whether that was after Grange Hill or before it.
I've got that as 2004. I've got that.
Was that
So,
before Grange Hill then
so
or
that
after?
looks like so it was probably round about the same time as you would have
Yeah,
started.
because
Yeah.
I played a football hooligan, like a middle-aged
All right.
foot. So however, the casting department
Yeah.
and Phil Redmond have seen me. They've seen me. They've challenged me, and I played quite a diverse range of characters
Yeah.
at Mersey. So the only thing I never did or haven't done is Hollyoaks at
Right.
Mersey. I've done everything else that was there. That was great fun. The um, courtroom, which were the kind of one episode dramas, just the court case and the courtroom was there. And there were two
Yeah.
episodes a week, and it was a quick time. It was really kind of
Yeah.
hectic schedule, but it was great fun and great. Some really good actors found their way there.
Yeah.
So
Like
that was more fun at Mersey Tally.
yeah, yeah, like the old Crown Court type thing. Do you remember
Yeah,
Crown Court? Yeah.
it was exactly like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the cameras in the court in the studio that was fitted out like the courtroom were remote controlled from the gantry, so you
Wow.
never knew quite when you were on or quite. There was some static cameras as well, but some of them were, and you could see them moving. They
Yeah.
were like security cameras in the court, but they were actually filming as well, so you were never quite sure when you were on camera.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
so yeah,
you had to be on it the whole
you
time,
have to
like
be
yeah,
on your toes. Yeah, it was great. It was
yeah,
great fun. It was great
brilliant,
fun. A real challenge and work with some great people there. This
brilliant.
the episode I did. I played. I can't. Michael Mason.
Michael, yeah, that's what I've got. Yeah,
Michael Mason. I
yeah,
played. He was a middle-aged football fan of I can't remember what team, but there'd been some malicious wounding or some
right,
unpleasantness that he was involved in. This man that should have known better.
yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
So,
And
yeah, I went on to do other things after that, and
Am
I've
I
done
high?
lot.
Am I high? I've got you in down as yeah,
Did I do? Did I do? Yes, I did.
yeah,
Yeah, I play.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I forget some of the things I was in. I did a little part in Troy, the film. I don't know when that was.
wow, the Brad Pitt film.
Yeah,
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah. I did a few scenes in Malta. I was in Malta doing that. I was in a made a little film not long ago with Stephen Bearcoff in
Yeah, got that one. Yeah, got that.
called
The
what was it called?
last,
The last Faust. I
yeah, the
played.
last Faust. Yeah,
You know, I couldn't remember the name of it.
but
So,
you've got a few parts in that. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. I
The
play.
main part.
I play God
Yeah,
in it, playing chess with the devil. Yeah, I think it's the opening scene of the movie actually.
right.
Um, but yeah, I've done so many different things. I do quite a lot of weirdly. That's really interesting. I wonder where my casting as I'm reaching the age I am, which is kind of my mid 60s, and I'm kind of grey. I keep forgetting this isn't on camera, but my beard's grey and my hair's grey. And bizarrely, I do stills, quite a lot of
Right.
stills for kind of some quite prominent kind of campaigns. And
Yeah.
I never thought that kind of accidentally came from nowhere. I found myself on in ad campaigns that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have dreamt of. I do quite a lot of commercial. I was in. I only know this. I'm a terrible self publicist because I forget half of the things that I kind of do them. I have a great time, I'm terrible at keeping in touch. I'm terrible at kind of even remember. I got a thing flashed up on my phone a year ago today. I was in Tokyo with
Uh-huh.
I play a character for a Norwegian company. It's a commercial, a recurring character. He's like a kind of Norwegian Captain Birdseye.
Right.
They took him to. He's quite well traveled, which is great for me. So I was in Tokyo doing this. My phone just reminded me
Brilliant.
um, exactly a year ago
Do you know,
today.
I've got right. I've got family in Norway, right?
Ah,
So I'm going to have to ask them about Norwegian Captain Birdseye.
well, he's Stranderman.
Stranderman, right? Okay, I'll have to ask them about it.
He's Stranderman, but they'll be very disappointed because I think most of Norway think he's Norwegian.
Right. Okay.
I do a few words in Norwegian myself, and there is a voiceover artist as
Right.
well.
Right.
But I do a lot of it. But I didn't realize because it's something that's only he's big in Norway, and I think he's in Sweden as well. And they took me to I was up in the fjords, right out in the fjords 5 or 6 years ago when I first
Uh-huh.
did him. It was really popular. And then they took me to he's a really grumpy mountain Norwegian that doesn't want to be anywhere else but Norway in the fjords.
Yeah.
This is home, he says. Itchy Stranda.
Yeah.
This is home. This is the place. So they took me to Gran Canaria. We were around Tenerife and Gran Canaria. And on these different, they took me there because the beaches, there's so many different colored, there's white sand and there's black sand on the other side of the island. So they just had this grumpy Norwegian in his woolly jumper and his hat, just going, I don't like this. I'm not impressed by this. I want to be home. So I hadn't realized because I depart and do my thing, and I've worked with the same crew for
Yeah.
6 years now. And then we went to the studio the following year in Oslo, and I was staying in a little place. They didn't have a quiz downstairs, but they put me up in this really lovely Airbnb, and I was in the center of town. Can't remember what part of town, like a trendy little part of Oslo. And I was in the supermarket and I was stopped constantly.
Wow.
Yeah, but people, giving me children to hold while they took the photographs.
Wow. That's amazing.
I was just buying chocolates and things in the supermarket, little treats to take back to my place
Yeah.
while we were filming. And I couldn't. I was sitting, having a beer in a bar outside, and people were stopping, kind of students.
Love it.
It was really quite weird because once you leave there, nobody knows this character. So mention him to your
Yeah,
stand-up.
definitely will. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I was in Oslo, and then we were in Tokyo. So they're taking him around. I'm just wondering where his next trip is going to be.
Maybe you might need to put a request in for somewhere you fancy going, the Maldives or somewhere like.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to think. He has like a daydream that he's big in Japan.
Right.
So he drifts off into this like baby. So they took me to Japan for in the Shilibaya crossing where 3,000 people use the crossing and things. So I'm like, I'm holding court on the top of this, on the 23rd floor of this building that overlooks the famous crossing in Tokyo. And then they have me in this limousine where there's like Beatlemania. They're running after this limousine across through the center of Tokyo.
Amazing.
All the people, everybody in Tokyo, like the traffic stopped, thinking, what the hell is going on? And then I snap out of it, and it's been like a dream.
Yeah.
He's back to being the grumpy Norwegian again. Brilliant. So it was just a dream. So they kind of strange way to make a living, but you know, I'm not complaining.
No, definitely not. So is there anything else, anything you're doing at the minute that you can tell us coming up? Anything?
I've got a couple of tapes in, which tends to be the way things are done. So you cast less, certainly initially in person.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it's usually a tape now. That was forced on us by the lockdown. It's something they and they've stuck with. I think they've stuck with it because it's cheaper than renting a casting studio and a receptionist and a cameraman. So I've got a couple of tapes in for a couple of really interesting things. So I'm waiting to hear from that. I don't want to tell you what they're because I don't want to put the X on them.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So I'm waiting to hear from those. Usually that's the first procedure, and then you get called in person, and then you either get it or you don't. But so I've got a few things lined up. I also have to wait and see where they're going to take. I think I'm due a little trip. So I'm waiting to see where they take Stranderman. But yeah, I've got a few things on the go at the moment that I'm waiting on. So I'm really excited. And it's really kind of different. As I reached this I didn't expect to be doing stills and
no.
I do kind of men's health. I'm quite physically fit, not for my age. I'm not bad, Nick. I don't want to touch wood when I say that. I do kind of a lot of fitness and health things, still shoots and stuff, which is I wouldn't have done when I was younger because I thought it was a bit beneath me. I was a serious actor at one point. Then I realized that you've got to take the work.
Don't turn any job down.
When it comes in, and don't be less fussy. You just want to pay your bills and make a living. So I'm incredibly lucky and fortunate to be able to do that. So I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. Long may it continue.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we are coming towards the end of the interview, Paul, but I'm going to ask you the same few questions I ask everyone at the end of every interview. So over the last couple of years, there's been talk of a Grange Hill movie in the works. Now, we haven't heard anything for ages, so chances are it's probably not going to happen. It's like everything, that comes down to the funding and all that. But what do you think of the idea of a Grange Hill movie?
I think it's become such a part of people's memory and people's kind of childhood. And it just for so long, it was such a part of kind of British culture that just the name itself, I can remember when I was there and the sign on the blazer and the music that started the program is so evocative that there would be an audience for it I suppose, and you would expect they would deal with subjects that are relevant, and I dare say they wouldn't shy away from subjects that other people may skirt around the edges of. So yeah, I think there would be a market for it. I think it would be done, could be done interestingly.
Yeah.
And I think you could do something useful with that, something really worthwhile.
Uh-huh.
That's what you'd want if you're going to do it. You'd want to do it well. I think
Okay.
that would
Yeah.
be Phil Redmond's criteria.
Yeah.
I think you'd want the quality to be good
Yeah.
and strong
Sorry.
message as well. I think he'd use it as a vehicle.
Yeah. I've said, because he's involved, because he's written it, he wouldn't let it be something he
No,
didn't want it to be.
no, no. He'd want to stick with that kind of ethos of being entertaining, but having a worthwhile message as well, because that's what he's done forever. You know, so
definitely.
so definitely be worthwhile.
And if you were asked, would we see a return of Mr. Fox?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I could say, oh well, it depends what I was. I'd try and make myself available for that. I'd love to see that.
You could be like Uncle Albert, during the Iraq War.
Hey, steady on the Uncle Albert. I was thinking more. He's living off grid somewhere.
Oh right,
They contact him. Yeah, he's living. Let's think of a great location where they could take me to. I could be off grid, and then they could try and talk me into coming back.
Wherever Stranderman is at the time, that's where he'd be.
Yeah, somewhere really nice. Where did you mention the Maldives? That would do. Yeah.
So obviously, you must have been aware of Grange Hill before you were on it. You must have been, because it was such a phenomenon. Course, yeah. So, other than Mr. Fox, who was your favourite character in Grange Hill?
Oh God, there were so many when I was growing up as a kid. Gripper, he was great.
Yeah,
he was really good. Who was the other kid that used to box? Zamo.
Yeah, Samo.
That kind of period. I remember those were fun. So many people went through that whole system. So many actors, so much work for so many people as well.
Yeah,
production staff and
definitely.
I met and worked with people I'd worked with on previous things. Sound men and lighting people and kind of camera crew that I'd worked on in other jobs, and you bump into each other. It's great. It was a great atmosphere, actually.
Yeah,
and I think it was testament. Great atmosphere at Mersey Telly. It was a great time.
Brilliant. And if you couldn't have played Mr. Fox, was there another character you would have liked to have played in Grange Hill?
I think I might have liked to have been a baddie.
Yeah,
somebody a bit mean, a bit kind of because Mr. Fox was nice.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I think sometimes kind of mean people could be fun, but they may be short lived, because you don't want to frighten people too much. But but I can't think who in the past I could compare. I would who played a character that I kind of envied. Lots of them, lots of great actors did lots of great stuff there. But Mr. Fox was fun. So maybe the opposite to that. Maybe somebody a bit darker, a bit meaner.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So the final question then, Paul, is why do you think, I mean, you've touched on it already, but why do you think there is still such affection for Grange Hill?
Childhood, nostalgia, memories. Do you know, they could be as well. Sometimes it's in the background when something is so familiar, whether it's, that theme that you get, your Coronation theme, the Coronation Street music that's so evocative of a time or a period in your life where what age you were, where you were living,
Yeah.
But I think some of the themes in Grange Hill, as well as the memory of the kind of tunes and the Grange Hill music evoke, there'll be memories of kind of events and issues that it dealt with that might have been a way, your first access to somebody else going through what you were going through.
Yeah.
The kind of major events in all of our lives that Grange Hill took on.
Yeah.
And there'd be lots of people that would look back and remember that. And if it wasn't affecting them directly, there'd be somebody else in their school or in their home or in their life that were affected by whether they were drug taking issues or bullying or coercion, or so it would stir so many emotions in so many different people, and we carry those with us forever, and we remember. So there's a fondness and a worthwhileness to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it's important. It's
Brilliant.
played a role. It's played a role in
Yeah.
British culture, British television culture. Yeah,
Definitely.
and I'm proud to have played a tiny part in that. I'm pleased I did.
Brilliant. Well, Paul, it's been brilliant talking to you. It really, really has. I don't know if you could tell, but I don't think I stopped smiling all the way through that. The back of my head was hurting at one point because I thought I'm smiling too much here. I need to sort myself out. Honest to God. So honestly, it's been brilliant talking to you. So thank you so much for coming and talking and giving us your experiences, not just Grange Hill, but the industry as well. It's been brilliant talking to you. So thank you once again.
It's been a pleasure, Neil. I look forward to hearing it. Keep the work up. Keep the good work up, Neil. It's worthwhile.
Thank
Brilliant.
you so much. Thank you. And
lovely to meet you. We'll keep in touch anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
You're a red then, yeah?
No, I'm a blue. Massive blue. I am, yeah.
All right. I was going to look for a bit of sympathy for us, but I'm not going to get anything. I've got 4 cousins who are season ticket holders, Evertonians. Yeah,
it's not a. Yeah. The last couple of weeks haven't been great, but we'll leave it there. We'll see what happens today. But honestly, thank you so much, Paul. It's been brilliant. And to anyone that's listening, I'll speak to you next time. Cheers. Thanks.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.